Bronze and Modern Gods bonus episode. Whee! Hey, Richard.
Hey, John. How are you?
I'm good. Hey, if you're not following us on Facebook and Instagram at Bronze and Modern Gods, please do so. If you have not subscribed, liked, and hit notification, you won't know when these episodes go live. So please do that now and leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform if you're enjoying us there. Today, it is time for viewer mail. And we have a visit from our DC Comics correspondent, Evan, who is going to share his underrated book of the week. So let's get right to the viewer mail.
You've got mail.
I've got the first one here from Britt Adams, and it says, John, that's me. Did you check out Captain America 126? I'm puzzled as to this book not blowing up as a key, as Sam Wilson wears Cap's uniform for the very first time in a very touching 2-page spread, where Cap shows his trust and loyalty to Sam. I just thought I'd follow up because I was astonished when I discovered this a few weeks ago. What do you think? I think you have a point there. I think it's definitely Sam in the Cap uniform. Is it Sam as Captain America, though? That, I think, is the differentiator here. So while I do think this is somewhat of an undiscovered key, I still think the community is probably going to gravitate to those other issues like Captain America 25 and Sam Wilson, Captain America #1. Even, it kind of goes back to that Sentinel of Liberty story that I pointed out a few weeks ago, where I think it's in that same time frame where Sam wears Cap's uniform. I think it's a retelling of that story in Cap 126, actually. So I hear you. Don't necessarily agree that it's going to catch fire, but it is an interesting point.
Yeah, the market supports what it wants to support. So I agree with you. I think that Cap 25 is really going to be the book that people gravitate to, or his first cover appearance wearing Captain America's costume, which was all new Captain America #1. So yep. I think those are going to be the ones that people put their money behind, regardless of what the true first instances. And like you also say, I mean, if it depends on the circumstances that he donned the uniform. Did he don it to become Captain America, or did he don it to be a distraction? Or there's a lot of different ways to look at the reason why he was wearing the costume at the time. So I think we're going to see those other books really be the ones that people gravitate towards.
Good point, though. I'm kind of ashamed of myself as a Captain America fan that I didn't remember that. So thanks for reminding me. Richard, what do you have?
My viewer mail is from Matthew Marlin. Matt says, hey, gents, the Boss Logic Black Adam book, which we talked about last show, is actually from this February, I believe. Mm-hmm. It was just released without much fanfare. I believe that there was a suspicious 9.8 sale for $800 plus in the last few weeks, which led raw prices to spike. But I personally found a copy on my LCS shelf buried behind the glut of overpriced DC stuff no one bought in the last 2 months. Forget long boxes. Look in your LCS's racks. Yeah, this is very true. It is from this February, and yes, there was a suspicious $800 and some odd sale, and after that dropped, I think people kind of FOMO'd and started driving the price up for this book, because it was an $8 to $10 book before that happened, and it turned quickly into a $100 book, and it's still a $40 book. I'm still buying copies out there for $40, $30 as they show up on eBay. I'm still bullish on the book. I am just surprised that I didn't immediately spot this. Because for the reasons we talked about in the last show, I think this is a great cover. It's one of the few covers that highlights Black Adam. And once we actually see The Rock playing the role, I think this is one of the cover people are going to gravitate towards.
Yeah, to go back to that point about overprinted DC comics from the last 2 months, I don't know if it's a local thing here in Southern California. You guys let us know in the comments. But I've been to 2 LCSs here where there are boxes and boxes of Future State just sitting there for half off now. I don't know if dealers here got super bullish on Future State and then didn't follow through, with the exception of Teen Titans. I mean, that seems to be the only one that got people excited. But what are you seeing out there in Ohio?
Yeah, there's a lot of stock. I know I talked to my LCS. There's been some confusion about FOCs, and yeah, so FOC stands for final order cutoff. That's the last day a seller or a dealer can actually order a book and then have that book be delivered at the time of the book's release. So there's been a lot of confusion because DC books have been coming in on Tuesdays and Marvel books are on Wednesdays, and just the general distribution issues have, I think, confused a lot of dealers, a lot of comic book stores, and I think that might also affect the buying public. I mean, if you come in to buy books and those DC books aren't there when you are ready to buy, you just may skip them for that particular week.
I think people are learning a lot about the new DC distribution, especially the Tuesday thing. I think this week was a big learning lesson for people with the Batman Fortnite comics that actually came out on Tuesday in most shops. There were tons of Fortnite fans who are not comic fans lined up outside of these shops at 10 a.m., 11 a.m. on Tuesday and just completely bought all these. We're going to talk about this more on our episode Monday, along with more breaking news this week. CGC's new pricing structure. What do we think about that? You're going to have to wait to find out on Monday. We have opinions.
It sucks.
Spoiler alert. All right. My next viewer mail is from Landarian's Fire. Ooh,
that's a great name.
I know. Fun content, guys. Thank you. Question for you. I hear a lot of collectors in the community say DC silver and bronze keys are undervalued versus the Marvel keys of the same era. I agree that they're undervalued, but I also believe the Marvel keys are driven by thirsty speculators and think in a lot of ways they've reached the overvalued stratosphere. What single event do you think has to happen to drive up the value of DC key books? This is a multi-layered question. First, let's break this down in a few ways. Marvel keys. Richard and I just happened to have a conversation today about this via text message about who's buying these books. Where are they coming from? X-Men #1 is selling for multiples of tens of thousands of dollars in low grades now. Where is this influx of cash? Who are these people? It is driving people away. You know, Richard and I do okay. You know, we're two guys in our early 30s. Don't laugh. What are you laughing at?
What number scale are you using?
We're comfortable, right? We do okay, and we're being priced out of this stuff. So
yeah, I mean, it's just, for example, we were talking about giant size X-Men #1.
Yeah.
I bought mine raw 2 years ago. It's a 6.0. I had it graded, and it's sat for $1,600 value for pretty much all of 2020. Then all of a sudden, it's now spiked. I actually posted to John a sale that happened this week for $5,400. And I'm thinking, okay, well, I'm tempted to sell, but if I sell, can I ever afford to buy one back?
Yeah.
It's if the price is going to be that level, and as John says, we're pretty comfortable. We've trafficked in these higher price books, and when we are like, I can't afford to replace that, then I think that's something to be concerned about.
Two things. We have told my story about my giant size X-Men #1 9.4 that I sold about 3 years ago for $3,200. I had trouble selling it for that much. I had to post it a few times. I had to, relist it. I'm never going to be able to afford that again. I mean, I can sell the house, I guess, but I'm not going to do that. I like a roof. And another book this week, Venus #18. I almost had a complete run of Venus, the great Atlas title from the 50s by Bill Everett and many other people. Issue 19, Venus 19 is particularly prized because it has this gorgeous horror cover of Venus getting ready to kiss a guy whose face is ripped off and there's a skeleton there. An 8.5 just sold from Metropolis this week for, I think, $52,000. This was a book, granted, it's the second highest graded one in existence, but A Venus 19 is now bottom line. A 1.8 is a $5,000 book, easy. So I'm never going to get that Venus run back again that I sold off about 10 years ago. So this is a long-winded way of saying maybe DC's next. You're very specific when you say, what single event do you think has to happen? I don't know if there's a single event. I think
I think Marvel's prices have been driven by the MCU, right?
yeah.
If it wasn't for the success that Marvel has seen and Disney has seen from the movies, we wouldn't be seeing some of these, incredible prices that we're seeing now. Unfortunately, DC doesn't have, well, they still make good movies. They
Mhm.
just don't seem to have the same kind of gravitas that the Marvel movies have. And until we see something like that, until we see something that's going to really grab the zeitgeist of the community that says, wow, this is, we've got, I don't know, Aquaman movie that just really knocks people out and, starts driving up Aquaman keys. Until we see something that's really kind of driving that price, I think we're going to see DC prices, lag behind the prices for Marvel books.
And with Justice League, they've had a couple of chances to make
Yeah.
that happen. The original release of the movie with Darkseid and Steppenwolf and Aquaman and Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, it didn't really do much except for drive up a few keys here and there. And then the Snyder Cut, where people were super excited about that and lots of fan service in that. Here we are. I don't see forever people shooting out of people's collections. I don't see Jimmy Olsen 134 spiking higher. So it's a tough question. I don't know what has to happen. I think DC's got to get their act together in a lot of ways.
I have a lot of, when the Swamp Thing TV show came out, we saw, a big rise in the value of Swamp Thing. I think Constantine also has a potential of being a kind of an it character. If they do Justice League Dark around him, I think that could have something. But yeah, I mean,
I don't know. Doom Patrol. People love Doom Patrol. People, season 3's coming. People love it. Doom Patrol 19 still sitting there. First Crazy Jane, first new team. The show is based on this team. Nothing.
But you've got Batman Adventures 12, and and that has just been a mainstay, and it's been going up along with all of these Marvel books because Harley Quinn is, Roby did such a great job with that character in the movie. I think that really just helped cement that character in the minds of non-comic book fans. So yeah, there are some outriders for this, but yeah, it's going to be tough to see DC really catch up with Marvel.
So what you're saying is DC should introduce a lot more characters in Batman.
Oh God, no! Please no. It's a new villain every other issue, isn't it?
The designer. Right, well, what do you have, Richard?
My next viewer mail actually came from my Instagram account. Billy the Springer on Instagram. He sent me a message saying, "Morning, enjoying the channel. Suggestion: when you guys do the rule of 25, the 25-year rule segment, you guys should add an Overstreet segment, meaning if 1996, then look up the price of, say, 5 big key issues. What is the Hulk 181, Hulk 181 in 1996, AF15, etc. Would be fun to see what those prices were and change up the keys with each vid. Just a thought. Thanks for the entertainment." Yeah, Billy, I love this idea. It's great because I think it's a piece of sticker shock when we start talking about the value of some of these books back in the day. I don't know, John. What do you think?
I think it'll make me want to kill myself because I could have bought all these books for those prices back then. And I think that's right when I stopped. When I put comics on pause for a few years, as we discussed on Monday's episode. Why? I won't get into it. Rob Liefeld. But yeah, I like the idea. Let's play around with that. I think I might be able to take your idea, Billy the Springer, and supercharge it a bit. Stay tuned.
Yeah, and we also have to track down a Overstreet from 1996.
Oh, I got it. I can't throw anything away. Cool. Well, we have a question for you guys this week. To jump in on the comments, leave us a DM at Bronze and Modern Gods on Facebook or Instagram. Email us at bronzeandmoderngods.com. Newly updated. Thank you very much. You're welcome. Here is our question for you this week. What was your favorite company-wide crossover event? Crisis on Infinite Earths, Operation Galactic Storm, Secret Wars 2 with the Beyonder, something more recent? Let us know. It'd be really curious to see what you guys think. Richard, what was yours?
Mine was the original Secret Wars. That really just was so novel to me at the time. Seeing all those characters interact, and on a scale that you just never saw before. And of course, the introduction of Spider-Man's black suit and Doctor Doom and his pivotal role in that whole series. So that was my favorite.
I think mine is probably Operation Galactic Storm because I like the cosmic characters, number one. And that was that in Acts of Vengeance I liked as well, where all the villains decided to, hey, we're not Dr. Octopus or Dr. Doom. I can't beat the Fantastic Four. I try. Why don't I try beating Captain America instead? Or you had Magneto fighting Captain America. You had just this shaken up Ultron fighting Daredevil, poor Daredevil. So it was really interesting. But the things those two crossovers had in common, they were very tightly plotted. It was not, here's the main book and tertiary crossovers. You guys can do whatever you want. It
Right.
was, especially after Operation Galactic Storm. If you missed one of the 32 parts, I think.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you missed a big part of what happened. And it was really good. People, there was the beginnings of the Avengers kind of fraying at the end at the edges when half the team wanted to kill the Supreme Intelligence to stop him from killing again, and the other half was like, "No, we're heroes. We don't kill," and they killed him anyway. And so that caused long-term effects. People died, didn't come back, until the fourth reboot. So those are the two I really like.
Yeah, the crossovers now are this meandering, sprawling thing that I think this kind of dilutes the whole purpose of these. Having like you say, you don't have that kind of single story, that unifying story. It's more of, here's a set of keywords that you use to write your stories, and you got to use these set of characters to sprinkle them in.
Yeah,
it's
King in Black. Have your hero get venomized. Okay, great. I mean, that was
exactly.
pretty much it. But tell us what you think. We're waiting to hear. We're going to share your thoughts next week too on our bonus episode. But now it's time for our special guest with his underrated book of the week. You know him, you love him. He's our DC Comics connoisseur, Evan. Evan, what's going on, buddy?
Hey guys, good. How are you?
We
Good,
are
good.
fine. Thank you. We understand you have an underrated book of the week you want to share. Since you're our DC correspondent, I think it's great that you picked this book.
So,
for those of you listening on the podcast, Evan is wearing a Marvel shirt.
I am wearing a Marvel shirt. Yeah, and the reason why is I have always had an affinity for this book, and every time I think about it, it's one of those things where you don't think about it very often, but when you do, you're like, man, that was a good book. Mm-hmm. So Mutant X #1 is my underrated book of the week. That is a very awesome story where Havoc dies, but instead of dying, he gets transported to this parallel dimension where the X-Men are all these dark, super evil. So Iceman is like super sadistic and Beast is the brute. He's done all this extra experimenting on himself and now he's way stronger, but he's really dumb. And the Fallen is Warren, if when Apocalypse created Archangel, if he took it a step further. So he's got like these bat wings and he breathes fire. And then Goblin Queen is there, Madeline Pryor, and Bloodstorm, which I always thought was a cool twist on Storm. If you remember that solo issue where Dracula actually turned her into a vampire. Well, in this universe, she stays a vampire. So I thought it was a really great twist on the X-Men, but it did not feel like, you know how if you're reading a book, you can tell this book was made to generate action figures for people to buy, like the last Avengers run with the Phoenix story, where you're like, this is mindless fighting, and obviously these are going to be action figures at some point. This did not feel like that. In fact, I don't even know if they made action figures about these characters, but I really, really loved the first year of that book. I think that as it went along, it's like that sitcom you watch where you're like 5 seasons deep and you're like, oh, this is so stupid, but I'm so invested now. I just have to keep reading it. Because I think they ran out of gas on the thing before they brought Havoc back into the 616. But that book is great. It's a really good first issue. They do a nice job of introducing all the characters. It gives you and meanwhile, they all think this is their Havoc, who's like this really awful human being, but it's the 616 Havoc, who is a hero. So I just really like that book, and it's something that I've gone back to read from time to time. I just wish the entire series had been as tight as that first probably 12 issues, but that one is, to me, a really underrated book.
This is Howard Mackey and Tom Rainey, right?
Yep.
Okay. So this came out of X Factor when X Factor got canceled. But this was the replacement book, I believe. X
Factor's been rebooted so many times. Who knows? You're probably right. It's probably one of the coming out of one of those series, and I can't even remember honestly the reasons why Havoc died.
It had something to do with Age of Apocalypse, right? It was tied into that, or am I misremembering? I might be misremembering that too. You guys
could
tell
be.
me in the comments. I always got this book confused with Nate Gray X-Man.
Oh yeah.
They were like kind of the same time, and I was out of the X books at this point, and I saw I'm like, X-Man? I mean, that sounds like it was created just to secure a trademark. Oh, wait, we don't have a book called X-Man. We better get this real quick. And Mutant X, they did a TV show of Mutant X, didn't they?
I was just going to say, of course, the TV show steals the name, and it is horrifying. This is way, way before Marvel and or DC learned how to make a decent TV show. That show is awful and has absolutely nothing to do with this book. Oh, it's terrible.
I remember it being one of those syndicated dealies like Hercules and Xena, where you'd catch it on Saturday afternoon at like 5 o'clock. I think it was on in LA before VIP, the best show ever. Pamela Anderson.
Yeah, no, it was one of those. I'm like, I feel like I have to watch it because I read comic books, and I just suffered through. It's so bad, but yeah, it has nothing to do with this book.
Mutant X had a decent run, right?
Yeah, 3 years. So I mean, that's not bad. I mean, it's not a 12-issue series, but I think what happened is it was kind of a critic darling, and got a lot of buzz. So they were like, oh, well, maybe we'll just make this a thing. But then the story writing just kind of fell off, and they started bringing in other people like Gambit and Captain America and some other characters, some tertiary guys, but Captain America, like super dark, evil Captain America kind of thing. But yeah.
And they had Nick Fury, super evil leader of S.H.I.E.L.D., saviors of humanity by intervention in the evolution of life form deviants.
And you have that memorized from when you read the book, right? You've remembered that.
It rolls off the tongue. Oh. Yeah, it was fresh in my mind.
Yeah, that wasn't forced at all. No. You say it ended in 2001?
98. I'm looking right here. It's 98 to 2001. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So it ended. It sounds to me like 2001 was that great Quesada culling of titles where he kind of took us, probably rightly so, took a step back and said, we got all these mutant titles, and do they have a reason to exist? That's right. The same time I think John Byrne, X-Men The Hidden Years got canceled for that reason. X-Man got canceled for that reason. So while they were supposedly profitable books, he just thought, let's focus on the core titles. And that's when we got the Morrison Quietly X-Men run, which is
and I love that you're saying that right now as Way of X comes out this week, and there's like 16 X books, and Sword is tied to X-Men now, and it's like just nonstop mutant.
I love the X-Men, and I have to say, I have not read the X-Men since the beginning of the Jim Lee, Whilce Portacio era, right? When they introduced Bishop, John Byrne took over from Chris Claremont on scripting it. And I'm reading this and I'm like, I've read this page. It's one of those things where you read a page like 4 times and I still don't know what the hell I just read.
Yep.
This guy came from the Fitzroy. What a great name. Came from the past, the future. He's doing something. And this other guy, I was like, I'm out. And I think I dipped my toe back in when Warren Ellis had the whole relaunch, in the early 2000s.
You really need to start reading now, with the House of X, Powers of 10. You kind of rebooted the entire X-Men mythos and did a really, really, really good job. So,
my guy at my LCS gave me a copy of House of X #1 for free and said, read this.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Sitting right there in the stack. So I gotta do it.
No, you gotta do it.
They're living on Krakoa. They're a sovereign nation. They have the ability to reincarnate themselves. It's nuts. It's really good stuff right now.
Well, there are no stakes because, you could just live forever. Got it. Okay. And Krakoa, isn't Krakoa in space? I there was a little book called Giant Size X-Men where they shot Krakoa up into space.
Yep. Nope. He's back. Yep.
Didn't stay.
He got better. Well, cool. This is an interesting twist, Mr. DC. I thought for sure you were going to pick something like, I don't know, Ambush Bug #4.
Hey, you make fun of Ambush Bug, but guess who showed up in Superman this week?
If it's not by Keith Giffen, I don't want to know. Don't tell me.
The backstory is an Ambush Bug story. It's really good.
Is it by Keith Giffen?
It is not, unfortunately.
Okay, I told you not to tell me.
Yeah, sorry. There's no bwahaha in this one. But, yeah.
Ooh.
All right. Next time I'll try to bring a DC game, but I felt like I need to talk about this book because, like I said, every time I remember it, I'm like, oh man, I really love that book.
We all have our weird little things, I'm not going to say it because I don't want anybody to be drinking during this show. But like, I like things that start with a Q.
Yes.
Richard has some little thing called Star Wars he's obsessed with. We all have our little picadillos, so you can have your Mutant X picadillo.
Thank you, because it was either going to be that or US1. So
hey, you leave Ulysses S. Archer.
I remember people used to insulate their houses with copies of US1.
I bought all 12 issues. I know why I bought because Michael Golden just did these amazing covers. But what was inside was.
Hey, I celebrate the whole catalog. I have every issue.
There you go. Hey, I love Team America, so I'm the last person to be teaching people about what's good or not. All right. Thanks, Evan. We appreciate it.
Sure thing, guys.
We'll see you next time. And special thanks to Evan for joining us today. That's going to do it for today. Richard, where can they find us? What can they do?
They can find us at Instagram at
Lady.
They can find us on Instagram at Bronze and Modern Gods. Also on Facebook at Bronze and Modern Gods. Our website is bronzeandmoderngods.com. Crazy go nuts with Bronze and Modern Gods on your social platform.
Just Google it. We're the first result. You'll love it. All right. We will see you next time. Make sure you join us Monday at noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern right here. And we'll see you then.
Everybody stay safe.